Hey everybody. So today we're going to be starting up in my apartment because I've got a plane to catch. Now I've got a bunch of business I need to take care of down in Crete, but on the way I'm going to do a single day layover. Now I'd love to tell you all about it, but I'm going to have to do that when we get there because as per usual, I'm running completely late. So let's go. Alright, we've stopped over in Thessaloniki, Greece for a 22-hour layover on our way to Crete. We're working on something pretty big over there, but I can't really tell you about it yet because today it's all about Thessaloniki. We arrived at 10 p.m. last night and have until 9 p.m. today to cram as much of the city in as we can. So let me tell you what we're going to do. Rather than chilling in the touristy waterfront, not that there's anything wrong with that, we're going to be going up to Anapoli, which is the upper city of the old town. This sector of Thessaloniki is arguably the most historic because this urban center dates all the way back to 316 BCE. The city was really prosperous, and with prosperity comes fortification, which arrived by the way of Roman Emperor Theodosius, I hope I didn't butcher his name too much, who constructed great walls all around the Acropolis in 379 CE. What's really cool is remnants of those walls are still very visible to this day. These walls were extended much further, most famously the Heptapyrgion, again another word I'm going to butcher, and we'll be checking that out later. Now, because of our tight schedule, we've actually just taken a taxi straight from our hotel all the way up here, so I don't really have a long spiel for you today on transportation, other than a quick tip that it's only about a 30-40 minute walk from the waterfront. So if you have more time here than we do, you should easily be able to fit it in. I'm super excited to go check it out, so let's go. We've been exploring for a little bit and have moved on to the Heptapyrgion, also known by its alternate Turkish name, Yedekule. And the cool thing about it having two names is that I can butcher both of them, so it's really efficient. This fortress was built by the Byzantines in 1453, most likely on top of another fort that dated all the way back to the 9th century. It was the seat of the city's garrison and also a place of refuge during sieges, remaining active in this purpose all the way up until 1890. But it doesn't end there, because it was converted into a prison that was then only finally decommissioned in 1989. The history of this building is insane, having remained active towering over Thessaloniki for over 1,000 years. Funny note about the name though, both translate to Fortress of 7 Towers. However, it actually has 10 towers, depending on your definition, leading to some confusion as to where the name comes from. Some say that it does have 7 towers, though honestly I think they might be squinting. Some say it was named after the famous Yedekule of Constantinople, or perhaps that the 7 towers are just referencing the large gates or porteras that led into the main complex. But who knows? As regardless of how many towers it has, let's go check them all out. Now that we're done with the Heptapyrgion, we're going to head down into the Castra. And the best way to do that is probably just to walk the westerly wall as it veers southward. It'll take you right into the heart. Let's go enjoy the walk. All right, hopefully you can see the wall and also the city behind me quite well. I mean, they're in such great nick for how old they are. Theodosius's walls have definitely held up far better than Hadrian's over the years. In total, he built about 8,000 meters of these things, and 4,300 are still left today, which is pretty amazing. And the street that we're on has got some beautiful houses too, so it's just a lot of fun to walk around. Originally, the walls not only encapsulated the Acropolis, but they went all the way down on both the eastern and western side to the ocean itself. Originally, there were around 8,000 meters of walls constructed when this was at its height, but now there's only about 4,300 left. Not only did they cover around the Acropolis, but they also flanked down the eastern and western side all the way to the ocean. Those, however, are gone, as during the Ottoman occupation, the Turks knocked them down in hopes to allow the sea breeze to come in. And imagining how sweltering it can get in the summer, I'm kind of glad they did. It shouldn't be too much longer until we're in the heart of the Castra, so I'll just see you then. Alright guys, we've arrived at the Vlatadon monastery and right at the top of the Castra region. Right where the western wall smashes into the Castra, you have Vlatadon monastery. I'll link a map in the description below so you can see the route that I took. I think it was a pretty good one. You can't miss it though, as to get here you have to go right through one of the 7 porteras, one of the great gates. This is one of the oldest Byzantine monasteries in Thessaloniki. The scholars aren't exactly sure of its founding date. They estimate the monastery to have been built around 1351 or 1371, which honestly just feels like splitting hairs to me. But regardless, this spot is super popular not only for the monastery, but also because it affords the best view of Thessaloniki and the ocean 120 meters below us. I don't think this monastery in particular is the most beautiful in Thessaloniki. I thought the one by Pasca's Gardens, the St. Paul, was a little prettier, but what Vlatadon has is a longer history and an entire compound of things next to it. I was researching online and I had no idea, but there's actually a bird sanctuary here with white peacocks and roosters, which is a weird mix, but it's pretty cool to have it here. It's also an excellent jumping off point for my favorite activity of the day, hunting for a cafe. Now that we've knocked out so many historical sites, we don't have to worry about the fear of missing out or having done enough in our day. So I think I'll spend the rest of the day relaxing, soaking up one of my favorite countries in the world.
Hey everybody, we're back in Munich. We're going to be talking about our layover day trip to Thessaloniki. I had never done a layover day trip on the way to a main destination, but Ben's done quite a few, so I'm going to let him take over.
Yeah, no, I was really excited to kind of share this with you, and because I've been including this on like all of my solo travel itineraries for a little while now, and I'd really like to include them in ours. You know, to be honest with you, I started it off just because of price. I found like a really good deal where if I stayed 26 hours in Beijing, then I would like be off like $400 off or something crazy. So that got me into it, and it kind of got me hooked. for two other reasons than just price. One of them is it allows me to trial out places I really hadn't thought about going. You know, I'd never thought about going to Beijing before, and I went there, had a really fun time, and I definitely want to go back. We've also done that with like Moscow, and the easy one being like London, because you can't escape it. And then you can also do it for places like Thessaloniki, which are really small, and they don't really have more than a day's worth of activity in them. So it allows you to like completely like enjoy a space and then move on, and you don't really feel wasted, and you feel like you've had a really good time. So I think that's what happened. I mean, would you agree? What do you think about it?
Yeah, I would agree. I think Thessaloniki was the perfect size for a layover day trip. It was 22 hours, something like that.
Yeah, we had 22 hours.
Yeah, so I just had a blast exploring this place. My main takeaway was I just loved how historical it felt. And I know, I know. Most people say that about Europe. It just felt so historical.
Right.
Yeah.
You're not the first to say that about European towns.
And I do feel like that about most European places I go to, because they do feel historical. But this felt historical in a very different way that I had never experienced.
The vibes were completely different.
And it was probably the Byzantine walls that you mentioned in the video, or over 1,000 years old. But it was just so much fun to sort of wander and meander through the Castra, where most of our video takes place, and see how these ancient walls had influenced sort of the modernization of the Castra.
Oh, for sure.
You could see how all of the roads and sort of the housing structures and the buildings had been built around the walls. Right. And I think it was so special and neat to see that.
Right, they're very imposing in kind of the city structure, and also it's very layered and organic in that kind of way. I mean, you see it in the video as a really great example when we're walking down the street, and then boom, you just run into the wall, right? And you're like, oh, I have to get on the street. You can't even see the other side. And it's like, oh, all right, that's just in the way of the pedestrians, I guess. Very ADA compliant. And so who would you recommend this for then? Who is this for?
I would recommend this for people who have been to Greece before, or who are at least very aware of what side of Greece this is.
That's a really good point.
So if you are going to Greece for the first time, I'm sure you're anticipating the very blue water, sort of the Mykonos, Santorini party.
Right. I mean, that gets the most like tourism travel press. So.
And those places are great. We've been to those places, and they're really, really fun. But if you're going to Greece and that's what you're anticipating, you're not going to find this in Thessaloniki.
No, not at all.
I would recommend Thessaloniki for people who are interested in maybe the historical, more lived-in side of Greece.
That's exactly
If you
right.
have been to Athens and really enjoyed that, you will probably also like that.
Right, a special type of like what you're doing in Athens. If you loved like the history and just like the wandering around, then man, you're going to get that in the Castra, and it's going to be really, really cool. I mean, that's what we wanted, and that's what we got, and I think we had a fantastic time.
Yeah, but it definitely feels very lived in. You see people going to normal jobs that have nothing to do with tourism or the beach.
Right, their industry, they don't even have a beach, at least not anywhere near that you can get to. They have that waterfront, and it's got a Starbucks, and I think they want tourists to show up. But I'd recommend that you don't, because there are much better versions of that in other places. For Thessaloniki, what I would recommend is the Castra.
Yeah.
So that's what I would go for, right?
Yeah. So with that being said, thank you so much for watching our video.
Yep.
Follow us on Instagram, please. We are a new channel, so it helps if you like and subscribe to this video. Follow us on Instagram.
Right. Please engage with us. If you've been to Thessaloniki, man, I'd love to hear about it, because I haven't gotten to talk about it with anybody else. Like, I don't know anyone else who's gone, so we need to talk. I want to hear your impressions. If not, just say how you feel about the video. Again, because we don't have that many subscribers or anything like that. We need to know if we should kind of keep going and how else we should improve. So please do engage with us, and we'll see you in the next video.
Bye.
Bye.